So, good day everyone. Before we start, please turn on your camera for checking your attendance. Okay, thank you for cooperation and there's no absent today. So, by the way, I'm Beirus Bautista from BP 2B. Today, I will do my demonstration teaching in skeletal system. So, objectives. At the end of the discussion, the students should be able to explain the characteristics and classifications of bones. Describe the functions of skeletal system. Define the axial skeleton and its component. Define the appendicular skeleton and its component. Distinguish between the axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. So, guys, what is skeletal system? Anyone? Okay, thank you. Another idea? So, okay. So, the skeletal system is our body's central framework. It consists of bones and connective tissue, including the cartilage, tendons, and ligaments, and also called musculoskeletal system. So, sa skeletal system ay binubuo ng about 20% of a person's body weight. An adult skeleton naman contains 206 bones. So, dumako tayo sa classifications of bones. So, meron tayong 5 types of bones. So, meron tayong short bones, long bones, flat bones, irregular bones, and sesamoid bones. So, sa short bones are roughly cube-shaped with vertical and horizontal dimensions. So, approximately equal. They consist primarily of spongy bone, which is covered by a thin layer of a compact bone. Short bones include the bones of the wrist and ankle. Short bones are located on the hand and feet, and also the patella or kneecap. It's also considered a short bone. So, sa short bone, meron tayong tarsals and metacarpal bone. Ito yung isang halimbawa ng short bones. So, dumako na tayo ngayon sa long bones. So, sa long bones, meron tayong humerus, radius, ulna, metacarpal, metatarsal, phalanges, fibula, tibia, and femur. So, long bones are hard, dense bones that provide strength, structure, mobility. This is due to the shape of bones, not to their size. Long bones contains yellow bone marrow and red bone marrow, which produce blood cells. So, this is the bone that has a shaft and 2 ends and is longer than it is wide. So, flat bones. Sa flat bones, meron tayong tinatawag, isang halimbawa ay ang sternum, scapulae, ribs, and cranial bones. So, sa flat bones are made out of a layer of spongy bone between 2 thin layers of compact bone. So, it has a flat shape, not rounded. The function of bone is to protect internal organs such as brain, heart, and pelvic organs. So, dumako tayo ngayon sa irregular bones. Sa irregular bones, meron tayong example na halimbawa ay vertebrae and sacrum. So, sa irregular bones, serve various purposes in the body, such as protection of nervous system, such as the vertebrae protect the spinal cord. So, affording multiple anchor points for skeletal muscle attachment, as with the sacrum. So, sa sesamoid bones o bones, meron tayong patella. So, sa sesamoid bones, function is to protect tendons from stress and wear. The patella or kneecap is the one of the example of sesamoid bones. So, skeletal system. The human skeletal system consists of all the bones, cartilage, tendons, ligaments in the body. So, altogether, the skeleton makes about 20% of a person's body weight. An adult skeleton contains 206 bones. Children's skeletons actually contain more bones because same of them, including those of the skull, fuse together as they grow up. So, sa differences in the male and female skeleton. Sa male, meron na the male skeleton is usually longer and has a high bone mass. So, sa female, their female skeleton has a broader pelvis to accommodate for pregnancy, childbirth. So, the skeleton has many functions. So, allows movement. Allows movement, your skeleton supports your body weight to help you stand and move. So, joints, connective tissues, and muscles work together to make your body parts mobile. So, produces blood cells. Produces blood cells contain bone marrow. Red and white blood cells are produced in the bone marrow. And next is protects and supports organs. So, protects and support organs, your skull shields your brain. Your ribs protect your heart and lungs. And your backbone protects your spine. So, stores minerals. Stores minerals, bones hold your body supply minerals like calcium and vitamin D. So, meron tayong two divisions of skeleton. So, the axial and appendicular skeleton. So, what is axial skeleton? So, anyone? So, okay, thank you. Axial skeleton includes all the bones along the body's axis or forms the central axis of the body. So, sa skeletal the axial skeleton includes the bones that form the skull, laryngeal skeleton, vertebral column, and thoracic cage. So, sa axial skeleton is the part of the skeleton that consists of the bones of the head and trunk of a vertebrae. Forms the central axis of the body. So, dito sa human skeleton ay binubuo ng 80 bones and it composed of 6 parts. Ang una ay tinatawag na skull na may 22 bones. So, sa major components, meron tayong skull, laryngeal skeleton, vertebral column, thoracic cage, and axial skeleton. So, the major components, so, ang ossicles natin are middle ears or tenga, hyoid bone, rib cage, sternum, and last ay ang tinatawag na vertebral column. So, as you can see in the image, andyan yung laryngeal skeleton or tinatawag na hyoid bone. Lies below sa ating mandible in the front of the neck. So, it acts as a movable base for the tongue and connected siya sa ating muscle sa ating jaw. So, next is skull. Ano ba yung functions ng ating skull? So, sa skull supports the structures of the face and to protect our brain. So, third is vertebral column or spinal column na tinatawag. So, surrounds and protects the spinal cord, supports head and acts as attachment point of the ribs and muscles of the back and neck. So, last is meron tayong tinatawag na thoracic cage or also known as rib cage. So, para saan ba yung thoracic cage? Or yung importance niya sa ating katawan. So, thoracic cage encloses and protects the organs of the thoracic activity, including the heart and lungs. And it also provides support our shoulder, girders, and upper limbs. Serve as the attachment point for the diaphragm muscles of the back, chest, neck, and shoulders. So, appendicular skeleton. Sa appendicular skeleton, the appendicular skeleton includes pectoral girdle, pelvic girdle, upper extremities, lower extremities. So, the appendicular skeleton functions primarily to facilitate movement. So, appendicular skeleton naman consists of the pectoral and pelvic girdles, the limb bones, and the bones of the feet. So, what is appendicular skeleton? So, kung sa kanina ay axial is form of the central axis of the body. So, sa appendicular naman consists of the pectoral and pelvic girdles, the limb bones, and the bones of the hands and feet. So, appendicular skeleton, meron dito na shoulder girdle, upper limbs, pelvic girdle, lower limbs. So, sa appendicular skeleton is one of the two major bones in the body. The other being the axial skeleton. So, the appendicular skeleton is comprised of the upper and lower extremities, which include the shoulder girdle and pelvis. So, as you can see in the appendicular skeleton, we have shoulder girdle, upper limbs, pelvic girdle, and last is lower limbs. So, there are bones of shoulder girdle. So, meron tayong tinatawag na clavicle and scapula. So, ano ba yung shoulder girdle or tinatawag na pectoral girdle? Shoulder girdle consists the scapula and clavicle. So, shoulder girdle ay konektado sa ating upper limb na tinatawag patungo sa ating axial skeleton. So these bones provide attachments for muscles that move the shoulders and upper limbs. So bones of upper limb. So meron ditong example tayong arm or tinatawag na humerus, forearm or radius and ulna, and wrist and hand. So sa makikita nyo sa image, meron tayong the upper limbs includes the bones of the arm or humerus, forearm, radius and ulna, wrist and hand. The only bone of the arm is the humerus or humerus, which articulates with the forearm bones, the radius and ulna. At the low elbow, the ulna is the larger of the two forearm bones. So pelvic girdle or pelvic girdle. So meron tayong tinatawag dito na sa pelvic girdle. Ito yung mga examples nila. So as you can see, line ng pagkakaiba, di ba? So sa pelvic girdle is a ring of bones attached to the vertebral column that connects the bones of the lower limbs to the axial skeleton. The pelvic girdle or girdle consists of the right and left hip bones. So each hip bone is a large, flattened, and irregularly shaped fusion of three bones, the ilium, ischium, and pubis. So sa kabilang image, meron tayong male and female pelvis na tinatawag. So sa male and female pelvises differ in several ways due to childbearing adaptations in the female. So first, the female pelvic brim is larger and wider than the males. Second is the angle of the pubic arc na tinatawag is greater in the female pelvis or over 90 degrees than in the male pelvis or less than 90 degrees. Third, the male pelvis the male pelvis is deeper and has a narrower pelvic outlet than the females. So, dumako tayo ngayon sa lower limb. So, sa lower limb, the lower include the bones of the thigh, leg, and foot. The femur is the only bone of the thigh. It articulates with the two bones of the leg, the larger tibia and the smaller fibula. So, the thigh and leg bones articulate at the knee joint that is protected and enhanced by the patella bone that supports the quadriceps tendon. The bones of the foot include the tarsus, metatarsus, and phalanges. So sa axial skeleton versus appendicular skeleton. So as you can see, the axial skeleton, part of the skeleton that consists of the bones of the head and trunk of the vertebrae. So sa appendicular skeleton, portion of the skeleton of vertebrates consisting of the bones that support the appendages. So sa central axis of the human skeleton, dito siya sa axial skeleton. So sa versus appendicular skeleton consists of appendages connected to the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton composed of skull, ossicles of the middle ear, vertebral column consisting of a total of 80 bones, hyoid, rib cage, and sternum. So sa appendicular skeleton naman, composed of pectoral girdles, arms, forearms, hands, pelvis, legs, and ankles. So sa axial skeleton made up of 80 bones. So sa appendicular skeleton naman ay made up of 126 bones. So axial skeleton supports the upright position and protects the internal organs versus sa appendicular skeleton aid in the movement of the body. The appendicular skeleton includes all bones that form the upper and lower limbs in the shoulder and pelvis or pelvic girdles. The axial skeleton includes all the bones along the body long axis. So dito na lang hanggang dito na lang tayo. Sasend ko lang sa inyo ang activity nyo dito sa comment section and the rubrics. So thank you for cooperation. That's all. Thank you.